On today's show, former Hammer actress and Carry On star Valerie Leon on her unexpected union with BBC boss Michael Mills.
It was not the most obvious of partnerships. I was a lot younger than him, but he was marvellous in many, many ways.
Plus, ex-Chelsea player Jason Cundy and wife Lizzie on the goals of their marriage.
I arrived at the church and looked down the aisle and I thought, my God, I'm marrying Liberace. Seriously.
When I was a little girl, I always thought I would fall in love with someone tall, dark and handsome and be swept away. It didn't work that way for me, actually, not at all. But then life is never what little girls dream about, really. I've been really lucky to have worked with many fabulous men. Sean Connery, Michael Caine, Peter Sellers. Oh, Roger Moore, I adore Roger Moore. In fact, I've worked with Roger about 3 or 4 times. And the last time was 1977, The Spy Who Loved Me. A couple of years ago, I went to an event and I knew he was going to be there. And feeling rather childish, I suppose, I took along a picture of the two of us and I saw him. And there was no reason for him to truly remember me, although we had worked together 4 times, but he did. And I said, Roger, I feel really silly about this, but do you mind signing this photograph for me? And he wrote, to dear Valerie, how slim I was then, and you still are. Love, Roger. So I think Roger's my favourite. Hi Mel, how are you? Good, nice to see you. Hello.
Oh, you all right?
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Yeah. I've come today because I've got this wedding I've got to go to, and so I thought I needed a little bit, just a trim or something. I was recently going through some old diaries. I looked at the date my father died. On the next day after my father died, I was due to go to the BBC and meet Michael Mills, who was producing and directing a show, and I was due to go and meet him for an audition. And of course, because my father died, I never went to see him. And then subsequently, in 1970, I was doing an episode about Pompeii. At the end of the filming, I was talking to Max Adrian, and this little man bounded over and spoke to Max. And when he'd gone, I said to Max, who was that man? And he said, oh, that's Michael Mills. He's due to retire soon, head of comedy. I said, oh, and thought no more about it. And then Max said, well, you must come up and we must all have a drink in the bar. I got up to the 4th floor and I was wandering around, didn't know where I was, and suddenly this little man appeared again. And he said, oh, you look lost. I said, oh, I'm trying to find the bar. And he said, oh, well, come with me then. And that was Michael. And he took me into the bar and we had drinks, and the rest of the cast as well. And then about a week or so later, he phoned me up and asked me out to lunch. He was much older than me, and so people said he was a father figure. I think when I was younger, I was incredibly neurotic. And I suppose because my father had died when I was quite young, maybe I was looking for a father figure, I don't know. But he was very kind and he was very patient, and with all my neurosis. And we eventually married 4 years to the day after meeting. This is my book of wedding photographs. I haven't looked at it for ages, so it's going to be rather nostalgic. Way back from 1974. Oh, we're starting with a telegram here. What absolutely super, hugely marvellous, tremendously exciting news. Our most enormous love and good wishes to you both. Pat and Derek Nimmo. Lovely. Oh, that was nice. And the first picture you have of my new husband Michael and myself signing the registry book at the registry office. Having recently found this diary, I can't help thinking whether history might have been different had I have met him previously for the job interview, which I couldn't go to because of my father's death. Life is very strange. I just want a tiny bit more off the end. I've got this very special wedding to go to this weekend, and in the country. Michael wooed me with flowers, and we obviously went out a lot, and we did go for a romantic weekend in Paris. However, unfortunately, he wasn't very well. So that was rather sad. I was doing a lot of work at the time, and he was very, very helpful with suggestions of what to do and everything. I think Michael wanted to marry me way before I thought of marrying him. It was not the most obvious of partnerships. I was a lot younger than him, but as I said, he was really good to me, and I decided to marry him, and we went on to have 2 wonderful children. Oh, and here we have got the Major and Mrs. Douglas Cliff. That's because my father died, as you know, and my mother remarried. Request the pleasure of your company at a wedding breakfast to celebrate the marriage of Valerie, daughter of the late Mr. Henry Leon, and Mrs. Douglas Cliff, and Michael, son of the late Mr. and Mrs. Haslam Mills, the Café Royal, Wednesday the 16th of January 1974. Dinner, black tie, and a picture of me in the dress and black coat coming out of the car. Ah, those were the days. All so elegant. My mother. Oh. I got married at Marylebone Registry Office, and I wore a blue velvet suit, a long skirt and a jacket. And although it was a registry office, it was a very nice occasion. And I always remember coming out and Derek Nimmo throwing confetti all over me, which made me laugh. And then on the steps there were all the press photographers, because of course the 70s was my time, and I did a great deal of work in the 70s. But the wedding dress was worn by my mother for her wedding to my father. I'm pleased to say that I was able to wear it in 1974, and it looks sensational, and it was very special to have been able to wear her dress. This is the wedding dress my mother wore in 1943. Isn't it fantastic? I wore it in 1974. I can't believe I got into it. It's got these little buttons at the back, so pretty, but takes so long to do up. I really hope that one day my daughter might wear it. Ah, those were the days. All so elegant. And the most fantastic wedding cake. It was like a tower of profiteroles, a sort of French-type wedding cake, and full of spun sugar. We had this sword that had belonged to my stepfather, and both my husband, Michael, and myself took a swipe at it to start the cutting so all the guests could have some. It was really fantastic. To celebrate the splicing of Valerie and Michael, a wedding breakfast which took place in the evening, I have to tell you. And we had an incredible dinner, a reception at 7 with champagne, dinner at 8, all for £5.60. It's unbelievable. And this was in the grill room at the Café Royal. Married life with Michael was rather different. He was a bit of an eccentric, but he was marvellous in many, many ways. Every night I would come home and he'd gone to bed because he was filming or doing something himself, and he would have left a full meal for me. And for instance, he used to make wonderful soups, and there'd be a fish soup, and then there'd be a little arrow saying croutons, aioli, parmesan cheese, all for the soup. And it was really very warming to come back to feel so loved. When Michael died, life was really difficult. The children were still young, and it was hard. In fact, it's taken years to sort of get back. I found myself doing jobs I wouldn't have expected to do because I wanted the children to finish their education as they'd started it and everything. And so it wasn't easy. You know, his death was unexpected, and it wasn't easy. I've never really thought about remarrying, although when we were married, because he was so much older, he always used to say, oh, well, when you have your second husband, this and this. But actually, I quite like my freedom and, you know, doing what I want to do when I want to do it, which is incredibly selfish. But, so I can't see myself marrying again. I think it's nice to have a partner or someone special in one's life. And I do have a wonderful circle of friends, so I'm very happy.
Still to come on Celebrity Brides Unveiled. Celebrity astrologer Debbie Frank on her prediction for super couple Wayne Rooney and Colleen McLoughlin. Plus, ex-Chelsea player Jason Cundy and wife Lizzie talk about their high-profile marriage.
We're very, very lucky that we've been together a long time, and we've got 2 beautiful boys. I couldn't ask for anything more, to be honest.
Astrology is basically a system that is very ancient, and we look at the patterns of the stars and the planets. How it works, well, of course, Patrick Moore would say it doesn't, and scientists are very much in doubt about the whole thing. But I think anyone that has consulted an astrologer and had their own personal chart done would say that it works. It's no secret that Princess Diana was my most famous client for the last 8 years of her life, and we formed a very close relationship, which went beyond astrology, actually, but she was very interested in astrology and in also what makes people tick. And obviously I worked a lot on relationships with her. I found Diana very open to astrology and very open to understanding herself. And she found the stars a very interesting method of just being able to understand cycles in her life, why she was feeling as she was feeling. I do work quite psychologically, and I think Diana moved into a position in her life where she understood herself quite well. I think celebrity couples for 2008, some of them are going to have a very interesting time. David Beckham and Victoria, well, he's a very stable Taurian, but he's in for tons of change. And Victoria's a go-getting Aries, and she shares her star sign with Colleen McLoughlin, but they have very different futures. When I think of Wayne and Colleen, the first thing that hits me between the eyeballs is the fact that Wayne is a sexy, secretive Scorpio, and Colleen is a Ramette Aries. This is an incredibly fiery, feisty combination. It's going to be very combative, but something tells me they wouldn't have it any other way. I think Wayne is a very interesting personality. He's not just any old Scorpio, he's a Sun-Pluto Scorpio, which means he's a double whammy when it comes to being very complex, very compulsive and very controlling. So I think that Colleen is going to have her work cut out when it comes to trying to maintain her own sense of herself in this relationship. But I think that's what attracts her to Wayne in the first place. Colleen is a go-getting Aries just like Victoria Beckham, but that's where the similarity ends. Yes, on the one hand, she has scored a fantastic goal, nabbing Wayne, but on the other hand, she is a Sun-Neptune, which in normal speak means she has a very soft side to her. She's very romantic, she's very idealistic. I mean, really, she's looking to be taken away from all this. Now, Wayne has got the moon in Pisces, and so he's after a very feminine woman. Strange then that he's picked an Aries who's so ambitious and quite a tough nut sometimes. He likes the feeling of being in love. He's very much got that side of him that just wants to be in love. And he's also got Venus in the sign of Libra, which is, again, very elegant, very feminine. What he really wants is someone who's going to smooth out his rough edges. So I had a look at Wayne and Colleen's future, looking at perhaps when would be the best time for them to get married. And I must say that the spring of 2008 is absolutely fantastic as far as Colleen is concerned. Wonderful aspects here, very hunky-dory, and she's going to get everything that she wants. So far, so good. Wayne, now he might just be in a spot of trouble, maybe the rumour mongering surfacing, and lots of things going on in his life when it comes to having to work very hard still. So I think he's just a touch troubled at the time during the marriage. Having said that, Colleen, well, coming back into a cycle now where some very transformative aspects are going to be changing her life. She's going to want to do her own thing, have her own space, and she's got her own network of friends. And then she's got Venus in Taurus, so Wayne ticks the boxes there. This is about money and plenty of it. So that's all fine, but her Venus and Moon are caught up in what we astrologers call a T-square, and that means drama. So let's just say the course of true love ain't going to run smooth.
Well, we were both happened to be in Richmond this night at a very sad nightclub in Richmond. He spotted me. I hadn't noticed him, I'll be honest. And he came over and chatted, and my girlfriends were chatting to his friends. He started doing a few shapes on the dance floor, I think to impress me. And so he just starting to play for Chelsea. And I thought, oh no, not a footballer, trouble. And it happened from there really, but it took sort of 6 months for me to come round. Jason used to sit outside my house and wait for me till I came back from work. He'd have the paper and a bacon sarnie and sit outside. My friend would ring and say, he's out there again, he's outside the door. So I took my time. Was it, didn't I, 6 months, would you say? Yes. He was a stalker. But, yeah, but he won me round. He had a great sense of humour and we used to laugh a lot.
Just tackle Dad. Tackle Dad.
I wasn't sure. Footballer, Mum was a bit worried. What are we with a nice doctor or lawyer or someone? I wasn't that interested in football. Our first date, he said, will you come watch me play football? And my friend and I were just sort of chatting the whole way through. And this old guy next to us was saying, hey, girls, do you want to know the offside rule? And we were like, no, shush, we're having a chat. And then after the game, Jason rang and said, did you enjoy the game? We said, yeah, it was great. He said, oh yeah, by the way, you sit next to my dad. And I thought, oh dear, that was a good start.
You called him the old guy.
Old guy, we're not so old. But,
old guy.
But no, we enjoyed looking at the legs and but then football takes over, it's like a drug, you suddenly get so into it and then I really loved going to the football and so enjoyed it. I'd actually just been through quite a traumatic time. I'd lost my best friend Wanda to cystic fibrosis. Jason had been fantastic all the way through, really helped me because it was a really awful time for all of us. And I just had a friend round, having a cup of tea in front of the telly, and Jason came in and
basically what happened, all on the back of Lizzie's best friend Wanda dying, and she'd been through a long illness and a long time, and we'd already had our first at that stage, Josh, and we'd been living together for about 18 months, and Josh was about a year old, so we were a bit like, it was about 18 months,
same,
so
yeah.
it was about the same sort of time, and it kind of made sense because of it makes you think about things, doesn't it, when certainly someone so young and so ill and so brave had passed on, and you just kind of, and it just made sense for Josh, for Liz and for myself, just to kind of, make the whole family thing happen.
Do we look young? Jason, your sideburns.
You look like teenagers.
I felt like a teenager, I tell you. We decided we wanted to get married in Wimbledon, where Jason is from, in Wimbledon Village. And at his school he had beautiful grounds, and we thought, hey, we could do a beautiful marquee in the grounds of the school. I was getting very excited with all the preparations and getting the music and food tasting. I just so enjoyed organising it. The day we chose was only the day England were playing. So
they played Scotland in the
Euros,
Euro 96. But unfortunately, if you've got to get married on a Saturday and there's a big European Championship or a World Cup happening, chances are there's going to be a game being played at some stage, and it was just unfortunate for us that it happened to be played that day at that time. And
he was gutted.
Well,
of all days to book.
I had one eye on the wedding and one eye.
Yes. Well, my dress I was so excited about because I was looking through one of the fashion magazines and saw this beautiful Ralph Lauren dress, but unfortunately when I went to try and find it, they'd all sold out. I couldn't get one anywhere. And luckily for me, my dearest mother-in-law is a dressmaker, and she said, Lizzie, leave it with me, I can make the dress. But unfortunately, sort of, Jason changed all that. I arrived at the church and looked down the aisle and I thought, my God, I'm marrying Liberace. Seriously. It was all frills, this loud blue, gold flowers and white. My mum thought you'd upstage me slightly.
Oh, did she? Didn't
Yes.
tell me that.
Oh, my word.
Dad, that mole's still there.
We're very, very lucky that we've been together a long time and we've got two beautiful boys. I couldn't ask for anything more, to be honest.
5 years ago, whilst an Ipswich player, Jason Cundy discovered he had testicular cancer. It rocked his world.
Well, quite soon after we got married, Jason was diagnosed with testicular cancer, which was obviously a huge, huge shock. I mean, he was only 27, peak of his career, playing so well at Ipswich Town at the time, and it was totally devastating.
You forget that you're ill when you're in cancer. I mean, you don't feel ill. It's not like a cold. You feel ill. You feel worse when you've got a cold. When you're in cancer, I felt fit and healthy, and other than just having one swollen ball that was just mutated into something I didn't recognise. Had to have that removed, and of course you don't feel ill, but you are.
But we've had very funny moments. I mean, when he first had to have his testicle removed, poor thing, in the hospital. The nurse was a huge Ipswich fan, was pottering about. I could see her, and then she started, Jason's in terrible pain. She came in, she went, oh, listen, I've got to go in a minute. I couldn't get a signed ball. And Jason just answered back, you've already taken one, you're not having another. And I've got to say, our sense of humour, once again, that I loved about him when I first met him, I just shone through and got us through, to be honest. I mean, I remember going to my first Tottenham game, and one of the wives was sitting in front of me, head to toe in Versace, not just a jacket,
Nice.
but, you know, I thought, my God. And I was just in jeans and a coat, and she was head to toe in all the works, the rings, gold, bling. I thought, is this what it's like? God, I've got to change my image. This is crazy. It's just a football mate. Hi, Eric.
How are you?
I'm very well. Lovely to see you.
Oh my God, looking fabulous as always.
Oh, thank you. And it is quite tough, you know, because I think everyone thinks, oh, wow, it's so fabulous. But your life actually everything revolves around football. And that's just the way it is.
I don't know anyone that's come up and listened and said, wow, your life must be fabulous.
No, but they do. They?
Do they?
No, well, maybe I'm living with you. They've spent a day with me. I need something very glamorous. I don't want to upstage the bride, really, if I can help it.
No.
But it is a magnificent event.
Okay.
We've got people like Rod Stewart there, and
amazing.
But it's in the evening.
So an evening wedding.
So, you know, and I want it to look quite glam if I can.
I think I've got the perfect dress
Yeah?
for you. I think you should look at this collection.
Wow, look at the colours.
They
You know, people
would be
often,
so
you know, and you get sometimes special treatment in the shops because they obviously think you've got a bit of money to spend. But obviously, yeah, you've got lovely parts of it, lovely holidays. And, you know, we've been to Venice, all over, Barbados. And, you know, I've got a bit of a fetish for bags. I love my Louis Vuitton and designer bags. So very lucky in some areas. But to be honest, we're just like every other couple, very, very normal and no different to anyone else.
I think you'll be a knockout. And I'll
Thank
get
you.
it ready for you, and you come and pick it up in a week or so.
Wonderful. Oh, Eric, I'm so excited. I think you've got to have a sense of humour, no matter what. And it gets you through the highs and the lows. And I think if you can laugh at your lowest, make something bad, make something funny out of it, you can win through. I really do. I think that is, for me, I think with us anyway, it's what's helped us get through, for sure.
Next time on Celebrity Brides Unveiled. Chris Evans' TFI sidekick and I'm a Celebrity Get Me Out of Here model Catalina Garrado on her recent marriage.
It was great, and then I remember doing tequila shots. And then I don't remember anything else.
Plus, Knots Landing's Valine Ewing, alias Joan Van Ark, and the place in her heart of 40 years of marriage.
I was confronted with what if. I can't imagine my life without him. That simple.
All that and more on the next Celebrity Brides Unveiled.